FCT-IRS has plans of its own to generate more revenue through taxation. And that job of ending multiple taxation in Abuja, as well as assuring residents of this nation that fulfilling their tax obligations translate into better service delivery and infrastructure development, will be the focus on our interview segment. This is Dateline Abuja. And welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Kayla Megwa. My guest this evening is the Acting Executive Chairman of the Federal Capital Territory's Internal Revenue Service, Mr. Michael Ango. What is the FCT tax payment experience? How much tax are we collecting? And what is it being used for? What's his office doing about multiple taxation complaints? What's his blueprint for his time in office? And what timelines have been set for him to deliver by the FCT Minister? Please watch this. Mr. Michael Ango, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you, Kayla.
Three months now.
Yes, 3 months.
How's it been?
Interesting. Again, of course, I had an idea of what I was coming to meet in the office. But of course, it's never the same with when you're outside and when you're inside. But overall, it's been a learning process. I've been around government. I've worked previously in government, so this isn't my first time of being in government, although this is the first time of being a chief executive. So yes, it's been interesting. It's been challenging. There isn't one tax culture in the FCT. I would say there are many tax cultures depending on the demography that you are interacting with, and of course depending on sometimes even the economic power or the economic status of the person or persons you're dealing with. So the Abuja FCT is stratified in terms of tax demography. We have, of course, the government workers who are taxed at source, and most of which is then paid to us directly. So in that demography, you find out that from your salaries and emoluments, those incomes are appropriately taxed, or let me say they're taxed, and then you have the business people in Abuja, some of whom comply, some of whom do not comply. And then you have the political office holders like myself, you have political appointees, elected officials, who I would say comply to the extent that they have their emoluments which are official, but not necessarily with their other income. Some of it is not really, again, a case of people not actually wanting to comply. Some of the non-compliance comes from a lack of information, lack of knowledge about what they should do. So I would say that the tax culture in Abuja is fair. But there's a lot of work to be done. What we want to do actually is to make Abuja the tax compliance capital of Nigeria. So there are certain things you expect to see. You want to come to a nice airport, you want to drive on nice roads, you want to see good infrastructure, you want to be able to go out and in a secure environment, and all of this will cost money. And I'm sure that the average Abuja resident will agree that in the last 1 year and some months, they've seen some significant effort on the part of the Honorable Minister for the FCT.
Is this infrastructure growth that we're seeing, especially when it comes to road infrastructure? And
yes. So
are you saying that money is coming from taxes?
Well, yeah, a certain amount of it, a large amount of it is coming from tax. So the way the FCT is funded, the FCT gets some allocation from the federal government, share of the federal allocation. But one of the ingenious moves that the Minister of the FCT, His Excellency Wike, made was to actually get approval from the President to take out the FCT from the TSA. So as we speak today, the FCT, is in control of its own revenue.
You have a target for IGR for this year.
Yes.
What is that target?
So our target, so let me tell you a little secret. We have two targets. We have what we call the internal target, which is we impose on ourselves, and then we have the target, of course, which is given to us from the FCT. So that target is 250 billion naira, but we are saying to ourselves we want to collect anything between 300 to 360 billion. Admittedly, we will not make that target for certain reasons, but the whole idea is that we're trying to aim for the sky.
Where are we right now?
Yeah, we're on about, I think, slightly above maybe 210, less than 220, but of course, certainly better than last year. We've already met.
Last year was 200.
Last year was about 211 thereabouts. So, of course, as of October, we've about met that. So now, what we report in the FCT-IRS is basically the taxes that I described: the personal income tax, the capital gains tax, the stamp duties, withholding tax, which is deducted maybe from payments made to business people and all.
I want to be able to talk about multiple taxation, really. Let's look at the complaints from the people.
Very good.
Are there actual instances of multiple taxation? And what's your office doing to harmonize
Very good.
that?
So I'll tell you a story. Yesterday I was driving to the office in the morning, and I saw some guys, wearing green t-shirts, and they were stopping cars in traffic. And I stopped and I said to them, "Excuse me, you cannot be doing this in Abuja." Now, what it is that because the way Abuja is, Abuja is Federal Capital Territory, but Abuja is also, especially city center, is also a local government. So what you have is AMAC has its own, of course, constitutionally, approved taxes and levies, which it is to collect. So what you then find out is that sometimes there is a multiplicity. So what AMAC would collect is what also the FCT will collect. Sometimes it's also a case of, one institution or one agency not knowing where its right start or where its right end. But the interesting thing, and again, I must commend the Honorable Minister for giving us the go-ahead and the instruction to ensure that in Abuja going forward, the issue of multiplicity of taxes must end within the shortest time possible. And how do we intend to do that? Very simple. If you recall, the federal government has set up a tax reform committee, and one of the major objectives of that committee was to harmonize taxes at the federal level of government. So about 2 months ago, we then said to the committee, of which I was a member prior to my appointment, that look, we wanted you to adopt Abuja as your pilot for harmonization. And Mr. Taiwo Yedele, who is a very good friend and mentor, then said, look, we will come and assist you. So as I speak to you today, we have already commenced the issue of harmonization of taxes and levies in the FCT. And yeah, I must also commend the area council chairman. The 6 of them, we've met severally with them, including AMAC, which is really the main, area council in Abuja. And what we've agreed is that we're going to harmonize collection, administration, enforcement, and all whatnot of taxes and levies. So going forward, what will happen is that if you have any tax to pay, if you are paying it to FCT-IRS, if you are paying it to land AGs, if you are paying to development control, whoever you are paying to, if you are paying to AMAC or to Kwali, the FCT-IRS will collect on their behalf. And then, of course, remit it to them, because it's their revenue. So it's not a case of somebody taking over your functions. We're just saying, look, you have a number of houses and you want to collect the rent on your houses. Why do you appoint 30 agents or 20 agents? Just have one agent who collects and then disburses, as it were, to all the persons who are, whose revenues are collected.
When it comes to the education that the residents of the FCT need, so that they can believe you when you say, look, fulfill your tax obligations, and watch your city become a modern city that you would benefit from. How much of that education is your office doing? So
there's 2 types of education. There's education of telling you something, and there's education of sight. When you see the road that is taking you to Buye, for example, when you see the roads that have been opened up going to the central area, to Katampe, to Guzape, when you see those roads, when you go into some of the inner cities, when you go to Kuba, when you see all the flagging off that the minister has been doing in Buari and all of that, it is, that is, for me, that is better than even saying to someone your tax is being used for something, because you can see it. Taxation is an obligation, as it were, but we at the FCT-IRS will believe that the best form of compliance is voluntary compliance. And we really hope that the FCT residents will come along with us on this journey, because at the end of the day, when we collect this revenue, we don't keep it inside a bank, we don't keep it in our drawers, we use it for the FCT. And I think that the Honorable Minister has shown, at least from the little we've seen, that he's willing to use FCT money for FCT residents. So I'm appealing to them. Thank you for the audience here. I'm hoping that, when I come back, I will be able to tell you that we've collected X and the ultimate beneficiaries of whatever we collected will be FCT residents.
I want to thank you very much again for making out the time to be with us on Dateline
Thank you so
Abuja,
much,
Mr. Angle. And good luck with all the work I know you have ahead of you.
Thank you, Michaela. Appreciate that.
Thanks to my guest and to everyone who spoke to us today on the program. Please let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handle showing right now on your screens. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Magwa. See you next time.